Today I'm going to talk a little bit about eating disorders, and we're going to see how eloquent this gets. I have tried for 16 straight weeks to talk about this and have chickened out each time and done a different video instead, but here we go. And this is, I think this is something that is different. I mean, we talk about universal experiences a lot. I do think there's a certain degree of universality to the kind of person or the kind of mindset, but really, like, these are entirely unique experiences. So what my personal experiences have been, should in no way, and it's kind of like with all experiences, let's not hold experiences up to one another. That being said, for me personally, it started with, of course it started with words. It started with adjectives. And I remember I must have been 15 or 16, and I went to an all-girls Southern preparatory school, an amazing school. But the problem was you take a lot of girls in their teens and you put them into a uniform. And suddenly the minute differences in their physicality become much more apparent. This isn't something you can hide by clothes. Everyone is wearing the same skirt and the same top. And the way that you fit into those clothes is readily apparent and is easily comparable to every other student there. So it's already not the healthiest environment. And I became obsessed with adjectives. So I had been an athlete my whole life. I had played soccer for 13 years. 11 or so at that point. And I was never overweight or anything, but I was never thin, okay? I was always strong, and I was always fit, and the word that I came to despise that I was always was healthy. And I think it's so sad that a negative spin in one's own mind or in society's mind can be put on the word healthy. But I had this antiquated notion that healthy, rather than healthy, like today, I pride myself on being healthy. Whole magazines revolve around being healthy. But at 15, to me, healthy meant well-fed, and well-fed meant fat. This was the simple equation, like, that I created in my head. And I despised it. And I remember being 15, and I wanted someone to describe me as slim. You know, I'm short, I'm 5'4" on my tallest day, and so I'm a fairly compact person, and I was going to school with very lanky, lithe people, and all I could think was that no one was ever going to describe me as slim. And I was so sick of hearing healthy and fit and strong. And that is really like the seed of where it started, was this obsession with words, which is so depressing considering what my job is. But I clung to the word slim. So like that I remember. And then I don't remember a lot of what happened after that. But I became unhealthy. I remember relishing when my mom hugged me one day and said that she could feel my ribs through my back. Like relishing that. This is a hard thing for me to talk about. I don't relish that now. Like, that's not something that I want. My goals, my values, my desires have changed. But at 15, I loved that. I relished when people commented on my weight that way. So it started with this adjective, with wanting this. And then it's probably the most dangerous time in somebody's life that this can happen, is that I transitioned forward a year and we started talking about college, and you introduce a lot of things that are out of the student's control, that college applications, that acceptance, and it's very easy, if you already have the seeds of something unhealthy, to turn and cling to that, to give yourself a sense of control. And so as I felt other things in my life spiral out of my control, I began to cling to the thing that I could control, which was eating. But I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. I thought that this was normal. I just focused on that word, and I wanted to lose enough weight that people would look at me and they wouldn't call me strong or healthy, which is, it's so frustrating, but that they wouldn't call me that. They would call me slim. And I didn't realize that there was anything really wrong until 6 months later, when I'm sitting in our high school common area, Googling the number of calories in a peppermint. And my friend looked over my shoulder, and I don't know if it was the look that she gave me, or the fact that I couldn't explain to her, or the fact that I heard myself explain to her why I was doing it. It's like the logic melted when I tried to give it to somebody else. And I realized that this was a little unusual. But it would take until I was in college before I broke that cycle. I remember very concretely, it took me more than 6 months to stop counting calories because I was so fixated on numbers at that point. That was the hardest thing for me to break, was counting calories. And I used to have to sing to myself whenever I started to do math in my head, because apparently I can't sing and calculate at the same time. And so I just remember for 6 straight months, every single time I started to add up calories in my head. And I started to do it. It was second nature. I would see a plate and I would be able to tally the exact number, like within 10 calories, everything on that plate. And I had to teach myself not to do that. One of the things that helped was that I extricated myself from my high school environment where the average dress size was a 2, and I went to college and I was like a 4, and I went to college and that was not the norm anymore. There were this huge spectrum of body types at college, and so many people didn't care about that. It lost its importance when I was taken out of that. One of the things that changed my life was that I went from trying to break this cycle to being indignant toward those that weren't helping me break the cycle. I remember a couple months into college, I decided like I wasn't happy with my level of obsession, and I really wanted to get better. And so I went to a college nutritionist thinking that they could help me. Maybe if they could do some of the math, then I would be able to break the cycle of doing the math. And I will never forget, I sat there and I consumed like 1,500 calories a day because I worked out. I burned like 1,000 of them every day. And the nutritionist misunderstood what I wanted to do. And she looked at my like daily food breakdown and she's like, well, I think we could get you down to 1,200 if you want to lose a few more pounds. And I just remember sitting there appalled that I had come into this environment and I wanted help. And the fact that she said that, it was a switch in my life. And after that, I went on and I joined the residential peer health educators at my college, and I worked hard to help other people be healthy. And that was the first time in years where I chose to look at the word healthy as a good thing. You know, I had to repurpose that word for myself. And so it's been a long process. It's a hard process. Like, it's something I don't feel comfortable talking about. And I think a lot of that is because, you know, most days I feel good. I feel like I have that particular problem under control. But there are a lot of days when I still feel like that teenager singing to keep myself from counting calories. I spend my life trying to distract myself from those thoughts of insecurity, especially even my job. I work in an industry where much is out of my control. It's so tempting to look for things that you can control, and things like numbers, calories, weight, things that are very concrete and belong to you entirely, you feel like you can control. And that's a very dangerous situation for me, because I look at Amazon ranks, things I can't control, or sales figures on the whole, or success or comparative success, or anything that other people have that I don't, and it's out of my control. And then I start looking for things that I can control in my life. And so it's been a struggle. If I stop too long and think about it too hard, then I start to slide a little bit. So I have to be very, very careful that I don't allow myself too much time to think about it.